Hello and welcome to Life with a Diplomat. I'm Ainura Mangali. It's a pleasure to introduce our guest today, distinguished diplomat whose work is driven by a clear vision to strengthen the ties between Europe and Kazakhstan. Her extensive experience and deep understanding of the region's unique dynamics make her a highly respected voice in international diplomacy. Joining me today is Her Excellency Aleska Simkic, the Ambassador of the European Union to Kazakhstan. So let's get started.
Kazakhstan and the European Union, and Central Asia as the European Union, stay friends and cooperate together throughout this period. My first absolute impression is really, and again it will sound like a cliche, but I really feel it is the people. Kazakhstan actually is one of very few countries for which we have managed to achieve that we will start negotiating visa facilitation agreement.
What would you see your own legacy here as being an EU ambassador in Kazakhstan?
Oh, I want the EU countries to work as one, so that's my thing, to coordinate well with the EU countries.
Welcome.
Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you for inviting us and sharing your time with us. Welcome to the program Life of a Diplomat.
Thank you so much for inviting me to this program, and indeed welcome to my home.
European vineyards or Kazakh apple orchards of Almaty.
Kazakh apples and orchards.
The Northern Lights or steppe sunrise.
Steppe sunrise and sunset.
Yes, court, dried yogurt balls or French cheese plates.
The first.
Court. Steppe eagle or European stork.
European stork.
Nauruz celebration or European Christmas markets.
Oh my goodness, Nauruz.
Oh, great.
Spring, you know.
Yes, Almaty Mountains or Alps.
It's my home, Alps.
Baursak or Patika.
Baursak.
Kazakh wedding rituals or Spanish fiesta wedding.
It's a very long, both of them. Kazakh wedding ritual. I haven't experienced it yet, so let's try Kazakh wedding rituals.
Great. Shubat, fermented camel milk or kefir.
I love shubat.
Oh, great. And the last one, Kazakh folk tales or European fairy tales.
I don't know enough of Kazakh folk tales, so I guess European fairy tales. For the time being, ask me at the end of my mandate.
What does it mean to you personally to represent the European Union in Kazakhstan at this particular time, at this particular moment?
Well, first of all, being an ambassador is an honor in the life of any diplomat to be appointed. It's not self-explanatory, it's not something that you just come up to without investing a lot of your time and work and your intentions of getting to that goal. So it's a great honor to be an ambassador. In my national diplomacy, I have not reached that level yet, but in the EU diplomacy, I have so far made it, and I'm really happy to represent the European Union in particular here. We are in the very important time in the relationship between the European Union and Kazakhstan. I think that we have talked about it earlier, and I've talked it in several different interviews, that we, in the last, somebody has said we have had relations, of course, since Kazakhstan has become independent, but in the last 20 months, we have had more activity and visitors than in the last 20 years. So for me, being here for the last 9 months, I have gotten the witness of all of this much activity that was there. And I'm very pleased and happy to be here in this time.
If to talk about your professional experience, how, we know that you've served and worked in different EU institutions. How did it influence your approach to diplomacy again here in Kazakhstan?
Not only did I serve in different EU institutions, I have actually, I started my career as a Slovenian diplomat, as a diplomat from my own home country, which of course is a different thing. If you're looking at the national diplomacy, it is a little bit of a different angle. It is more economic angle. I worked in the security field because I worked in the Security Council when my country was in the Security Council of the United Nations. I worked in the OSCE, which is also an organization that Kazakhstan feels strongly about. Then I worked in an OSCE institution. I worked then went back to my Slovenian diplomacy, worked in the office of the Prime Minister of my country. I moved around a lot, and I think this has given me this diversity. I would say there are two sorts of diplomats. There are those who really focus on one topic and become really experts in that one topic. Yeah. And there are those perhaps of us that are more of a generalist, somebody who can come in and then really for those couple of years that he or she is in that place, really focuses on that area, and then maybe in the next time they will go somewhere else. So I guess I'm in this second group that partially I am, let's say, I know the region, I know the region very in a wider sense, but I look at it maybe from the different angle every time that I look at it.
So now let us move to a very important topic. Let's talk about Kazakhstan-EU relations. And my first question here is, how would you characterize the current state of our bilateral relations?
I think we are at the very top of the relationship. Not at the very top. I think it can still go up, but we are very climbing up in the relationship. And when I was coming here, because one of the reasons why we are really strengthening relations is also in relation to the geopolitical developments that are out there. So of course that is bringing Kazakhstan and the European Union closer. I think we have many areas that we have in common. In the area of peace, we both have a peace agenda. As far as the world is concerned, we are all supporting the United Nations and its charter. So I think there we have a big commonality. We have, of course, European Union is still the biggest trading partner for Kazakhstan. And we need to help diversify economy in both sides so that our companies would become further interested in Kazakhstan.
Yeah. So what would be the strategic interest of the European Union here in Kazakhstan, and how it's also it's been aligned with the broader interest in this region?
I mean, as I said, strategic, it has just now in Samarkand, when there was the EU Central Asia Summit, the region as a whole has been declared a strategic partner, which is actually, it's just a word sometimes, but it just means that we are now having
what does it mean?
Sustainable. We now have continuous cooperation in different. We are ready to not only to invest money, but we are ready to invest the political impact in terms of connecting people. I'm sure we will come to that topic because we cannot avoid it. But there is a certain areas that we will now strategically pursue. So when you talk about partnership, it's partnership. That's all fine. We'll work together. But when it's strategic partnership, that means that for us, it's in our national interest and it's our national security interest that we have Kazakhstan as our partner, Central Asia as a whole, as a region, our partner.
Well, I wanted to ask about this EU strategy for Central Asia. It's being implemented. It was initiated by the European Union. How is it being implemented here in Kazakhstan, and what's a concrete ongoing programs?
You will have also heard that there is an announcement of some financial assistance that we are not assistance, but financial cooperation that we are going to have. President of the European Commission talked about the 12 billion euros that we will continue to invest in the region. And when we talk about it, it doesn't mean that we are bringing here the money and it's like, okay, here is 12 billion euros and please spend it in a good way. It's really cooperation on different projects. So we want to, it's going through the banks, it's going through the guarantees. So when Kazakhstan or any other Central Asian country presents a project and it has to go in areas that is in common interest, then our banks are ready to invest in it with some kind of a lower interest rates than it would be probably on the world market. So it's not and there is also some money for feasibility studies. So we're looking at the technical things. I mean, big area is transport, of course. Yeah. We all know about the Trans-Caspian Transport Corridor, which is of great importance to both, to Kazakhstan and Central Asia as a whole, and of course to Europe as a connecting China and Europe, and Asia and Europe. That's something that we see as a very important political, but also economically relevant project. There are projects and activities with all the partners, World Bank, EBRD, EIB, and all the banks, and us, European states, that we would like to develop this transport corridor. And the projects going, there are different roads being built, there are different railways being built through the partners, digitalization, ports are being updated. So yes, there is a lot of activities. Infrastructure is also there.
How do you see the role of Kazakhstan in enhancing this regional connectivity through this middle corridor?
Kazakhstan always, or my interlocutors here always ask me, so how can we actually get into this, co-funding possibilities? And it's an important question because Kazakhstan itself, of course, is investing in its own infrastructure. It has its own resources and it wants to invest in it, and hopefully it will continue investing in it. So we are not there to, it's not a developing country in which we have to do everything. Kazakhstan itself is a middle-income country, so as such, it invests itself. What I believe has to be done is there has to be priorities set in a way of what Kazakhstan really wants to achieve in the next, whatever, first short-term, mid-term and long-term in terms of infrastructure development. And then these priorities have to be confronted and seen with what is of interest to us to help and to contribute to, what is of the interest to the region, because of course connectivity of the region is also important to us, and then decide which means will be used for building this infrastructure.
I'm very interested in what was first impression of the country when you arrived, and maybe what the aspects of the country which stood out to you particularly.
You know, it's so now when I've been here for 9 months, it's so ununderstandable to me how we don't know in Europe, speaking wider, about Kazakhstan more. I really think, I think it has such a great, and I know that sometimes it feels like I'm praising it maybe too much, because there are things, of course, that one has to take a look at it. But as somebody who came to live here, I didn't really know what to expect. It was not the first time that I came to Kazakhstan. I visited it before, but I've never lived here. So, you know, if you visit a country, it's a different view than if you actually live here. And I think what my first absolute impression is really, and again, it will sound like a cliche, but I really feel it, is the people. I really think that it's this friendliness, this openness. I mean, to the first taxi driver that asks you, the minute that he hears that you are not local, that he asks you, so where are you from? And then actually they know the country. I mean, the knowledge of geography, the curiosity, I found it, and this friendliness about it, and of course the pride. I think that was another thing that I have seen, this pride of Kazakhstan. You know, we here are this or that.
Let's talk about another big topic now. It's getting more and more important, the critical raw materials in dialogue, in rare earths. And we know that critical raw material is vital to the EU's green transition, but we're talking here also about ethical and sustainable supply. So how do you think EU will implement it in, you know, in ethical and sustainable way?
I mean, critical raw materials, you're right. It's a big world competition about the critical raw materials, in those who are offering critical raw materials and those who want to buy the critical raw materials. And Kazakhstan is in this first group of wanting to sell its raw materials. But I also can see that it's not in the extraction economy. It's really trying, and whatever discussions we have with Kazakh government, it is about, we want to offer these minerals, however, not in exploitation of extraction, but we really want to get technologies and want to have it environmentally friendly. Where I see Kazakhstan's role of Kazakhstan's government in this particular area is to create what it already does, but to further develop a good business climate. Because the companies who are interested in these rare materials, again, I have to say, it's not Brussels institutions, or it's not the government of any country. It is really the companies that need these materials. And in order for doing that, they need to know, okay, our investment here is very certain. If we get a permit to dig, because these are all, of course, long-term projects, and they will have to know where certain mineral is, and they will have to invest years into that. So they have to know that their investment is safe there for these years, that nobody will take the permit away. So for that, you need to have a stability, you have to have a proper rule of law system. So there is a number of things that Kazakhstan has to also continue doing in order to get this business climate. And from our side, what we as the European Union have to do, we also have to, again, coming back to the beginning of our discussion, to get Kazakhstan known how many minerals there are. We are now, together with what President Tokayev has actually announced in the Samarkand summit, we are working together, and we are happy to co-finance or even finance ourselves the so-called, we call it critical raw material laboratory, where it will actually be looked at how...
It's like a regional hub for
exactly,
this,
in Almaty there will be regional hub, and the idea is to really look into what materials there are.
And my last question, I think it's the question which is of the most interest here in this region, in our country, the dialogue about the visa procedures and how is it going, and where can we start, and where can we really expect the results, the outcomes of this dialogue?
Well, I'm very happy to say that Kazakhstan actually is one of very few countries for which we have managed to achieve that the European Council, meaning all 27 member states, have agreed that we will start negotiating visa facilitation agreement. It's not an easy thing, I have to tell you, because it means that the 27 countries who are now issuing visas, I mean, I have to first say there are visas issues to the Kazakh citizens, tourists and business and all that. So people get visas. What we recognize is that the procedures are very different depending on which country you ask the visa for. Schengen has the rules are such that every country has the competence to do it itself. So it's not up to Brussels, up to the European Union to decide we have to do it like that. That has to be negotiated. So now we are getting into this stage when we will be negotiating with the 27 member states and Kazakhstan on the other side. What would be actually documentations that would be needed. No matter which embassy you will go to, you will have the same set of documents. It gives a longer term, it requires fewer documents, and it's cheaper. So that's the point of visa facilitation agreement. So it's not a fast process, and I always say this very, very clearly. While this is a great success, and here I have to also praise the Kazakh government because they are pushing hard for that, and that was also very also on me. So I felt this pressure as well. So it is a lot. This pressure has helped for us to decide to start negotiating. I think it's starting negotiating this month, and it can be the process that lasts not a couple of months. It may be a couple of years.
So tell us more about what do you prefer doing, what you enjoy doing on your spare time?
Well, as you can see, I like the river here in Astana, and water or river anywhere. And if I catch it, I do the running. Running is something where I relax, where I listen to my podcasts or my books or something where I forget about work. It gives a movement as well, but it also allows me to think. Sometimes I have wild ideas when I run. So
as my granddad said, running is like a queen of sports, right?
Well, you know, I also hear some people who are saying, you know, you can only run if there is something to run after. So there are people who play football, they would be running, or play tennis, and they would not run. They don't see the point of it. As I said, I clean my mind with that. So that's why I like it.
How do you find this work and life balance? Is it challenging, something that you struggle with, or it's like something that goes natural?
Often it is how much you give yourself or do the work. I can say that I have enough time to do my reading, to do my, you know, I love documentaries of history, so I can do these things. Weekends are actually more or less free, so it's a good thing. I think that in terms of work-life balance, while I have long working hours, we do at the same time, I don't mind that I have some work as well during the week. I prefer working over the week, longer hours, as long as I can have my 2 days of freedom if I can.
If you summarize everything that we discussed today, what would be your main goals for further deepening EU-Kazakhstan relations over the few years?
Well, first and foremost, what we discussed about the people-to-people contact. As I mentioned, I think the first task of me as ambassador here is to work with Kazakhstan government and to work with my colleagues in the European Union member states to bring Europe close to Kazakhstan and Kazakhstan closer to Europe in terms of people-to-people contact, educational projects, maybe teaching about the European Union in different universities, visas we discussed. I hope this is at the end of my mandate I can say that we did that. So that's my first priority, people-to-people and getting to know each other, tourism. I mean, there's many areas that we can work on in that. My second big topic that I would say is that we really really go ahead with this Trans-Caspian Transport Corridor and the connectivity elements when it goes to logistics, when it goes to climate connectivity, when it goes to digital connectivity. And I think this is my kind of second thing that I have. And my third goal is that no matter what happens in geopolitics, no matter what developments will happen, hopefully only positive ones, that we, Kazakhstan and the European Union and Central Asia as the European Union, stay friends and cooperate together throughout these periods, because we will have learned about each other and we should really work together.
That's really very inspiring to hear, actually. And you mentioned youth and young people a lot. And so, as you may know, Kazakhstan is a country with a very large young people, youth population. So I'm very interested in how EU sees its engagement with, this youth empowerment here in this country.
Indeed, I mean, I recently heard that in Kazakhstan, in 2030, 30% of population will be under the age of 30, which for some European where we have the aging population is an absolute dream in a way. So because this kind of a natality is a good thing. It will of course bring with itself challenges of employment, it will bring itself challenges of taking care of education, but it will take care of the pensions. So that's the thing that we have a thing for. So we have to develop the youth. And here I'd like to say maybe two things. One is this young population needs perspective, and perspective can be given through the education. I understand there are some challenges with actually educating, even in the very elementary level, such a big number of students. There are not enough teachers. So I think that's one thing that Kazakhstan will have to look into to get this very elementary education. And then what our European companies, but not only European, Kazakh companies, every other company will need is educated workers. And here I'm not only talking about the employment with PhD degrees and high-level education, which I know Kazakhstan is investing a lot in scholarships, but also so-called vocational trainings, meaning the middle education where people become engineers, because the capacity that Kazakhstan has is very much in these critical raw materials we discussed, in trade and all these other things, where we really need workers that have technical education, that have certain technical capacities and skills, and that's, I think, where we will have to jointly work together.
Very briefly, and in just a couple of sentences, what would you see your own legacy here as being an EU ambassador in Kazakhstan?
Oh, I want the EU countries to work as one. So that's my thing, to coordinate well with the EU countries, some bureaucracy in Brussels, but it's also very concretely the member states. So that's one. And my second goal is this visa story. I really want to have the visa facilitation agreement signed, hopefully in my time.